I'm nowhere close to a perfect man, and it takes a supernatural love to even understand that beyond the walls, behind the mask and confident smile, was a broken man trying to grow up and make life worthwhile. And I know there were times that you probably shouldn't, but I thank you for always loving me. And I know anyone else, they probably wouldn't, but I thank you for always loving me. Now I know there were days I'd look at myself, I felt like less of a person compared to everyone else. What about this flaw? Too big, too small? Can I exchange?
Hi there, good evening and welcome to Watchers TV. We're so sorry we're late, but we know you have been waiting for us. Thank you so much for staying tuned. If you're just joining us, like I always remind my viewers, you have to subscribe to the YouTube channel and click on the notification bell. It's very, very important. So tonight we're on Relationship Thursday, and last week Daddy took us to a wonderful session of Relationship Thursday. Yes, of course. So tonight, Daddy is going to take us to another whole session. It's going to it's going to be a mind-blowing one. I need you to get your pens and your paper so that you can put some notes down. And also, don't forget to use the like, comments, and share button once you hear from you this evening. So, Daddy, please, you're welcome.
Thank you.
I hope you had a great day.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Please, you're welcome. Listening to you.
Okay. Good evening once again. We thank God for today's edition of Relationship Thursday. Today, I want us to look at signs of a healthy relationship. Signs of a healthy relationship. So, we are talking about relationships in general, but then, of course, we are going to apply to relationships leading to marriage. Okay, so it's very important that we understand that human beings are relational beings. That's how God created us. The soul that is in us is responsible for all manner of relationships. The soul has a feature that helps the human being to bond with another human being. When you read the Bible, right from Genesis 2:18 downwards, God said, it's not good for man to be alone. I'm going to make for him a comparable companion. When he said it wasn't good for man to be alone, he was talking about marriage, but he was also stating the principle that man will necessarily have to relate with other human beings to be whole. So there are certain things you can get from God, and there are certain things you cannot get from God, because Adam was in a relationship with God, and God still said it was not good for him to be alone. So it's very important that we understand the dynamics of human relationships, because nobody is an island. You must necessarily relate. Life is one ecosystem of relationships where our very survival depends on the relationships that surround us. Even if you take human beings and then trees, science has taught us that trees taking carbon dioxide and they release oxygen. And then we also take in oxygen and release carbon dioxide, which the trees also need. So you see the ecosystem right there. So it is very important. Now, I said that the soul is what makes a relationship vibrant and what makes us able to bond with one another. That's the soul. And so for any relationship to be a thriving relationship, there must be a soul tie. A soul tie. And a soul tie simply means the bonding of souls. The bonding of souls. And we can have a positive soul tie and a negative soul tie. Okay, so a positive soul tie will enhance the individual advantages, or will serve as a blessing to the parties involved in the relationship. A negative soul tie will serve as a bondage. So the positive soul tie is a bond that will bless the two. A negative soul tie is a bondage that will not bless the two people or the people in the relationship. Now, an example of a positive soul tie is in Acts 4:32. When the Bible was talking about the early believers, it said that Acts 4:32, it says, "Now the multitude of those who believed were of one heart and one soul. Neither did anyone say that any of the things he possessed was his own, but they had all things in common. They were of one heart and one soul." That was a soul tie right there, but that was a positive soul tie. And it brought a lot of blessings to the people who were involved. So for any relationship to thrive and to be fulfilling, there must be that aspect, that bonding aspect, that aspect where the souls bond. The soul longs. That's one of the features of the soul. The soul longs. David said, "My soul longs for you." Longs is the longing of the soul. It longs for bonding, and relationship. So it's very important. Now there are three things that must be in place for a relationship to be effective. Three main things that must be in place. When these things are violated, you will see that there's a negative soul tie. Now, the first one is purity. Second one is um, individuality. The third one is interdependence. Okay, so the first one is purity, second one is individuality, and the third one is interdependence. When these three things are there, the relationship is preserved. When these three things, when any of these three things is violated, a negative soul tie is formed. When I talk about purity, I'm talking about maintaining the sanctity of a relationship. The moment you cross boundaries, you will see that a negative soul tie can exist. It will result into a negative soul tie, which will begin to afflict the parties involved. Now, you all know that, for instance, let me give just some examples. Um, let me talk about incestuous relationship. Incest. When two people sleep who have sex, and then maybe they are related by blood, we call it incest. To have sex with your blood relation, you realize that the relationship, the soul tie between the two people is so strong that you are blessed by the bond, but the moment that boundary is broken and you cross boundaries, you see that it becomes a negative soul tie. So incestuous relationships can releases negative soul ties, that can afflict people. That's why demons can live in such relationships, because the principle of purity has been violated. The same thing applies to relationships like an adulterous relationship. That one too creates a negative soul tie because the principle of purity has been violated. Because when there's a sexual relationship between two people who are married, that one is a positive soul tie because that relationship is sanctioned by God. Bible says marriage is honorable and the bed undefiled. Marriage is honorable in all and the bed undefiled. So that one, the sanctity of that relationship is preserved. But when you cross boundaries and there's adultery, that relationship will result into a negative soul tie, which can create a habitat for a demonic spirit to be afflicting the parties involved. Okay, now the same thing applies to fornication, which is a sexual relationship between two people who are not married. That one too creates a negative soul tie because the principle of purity has been violated. Because the sanctity of that relationship is that before two people, not until two people are married, they are not supposed to have sex. That is how God created it. So when you break that rule, that principle of purity, you create a habitat for a demon, because it becomes a negative soul tie, and a demon must enforce it. In the Bible, you will see that the Bible lays a clear distinction between sex that takes place in a marriage and the sex that takes place outside of a marriage, which means that, in other words, Bible distinguishes between a positive soul tie and negative soul tie. When you read the Bible in uh, Genesis chapter 34, Genesis 34 is about Jacob's daughter, who was called Dinah. It says, now Dinah, the daughter of Jacob, daughter of Leah, whom she had born to Jacob, went out to see the daughters of the land. And when Shechem, the son of Hamor, the Hivite, prince of the country, saw her, he took her and lay with her and violated her. Now you see that the phrase the Bible uses is lay with her, and it's consistent throughout Scripture. Anytime the sexual relationship was not approved by God, that is, was not in the context of marriage, the phrase that was used was to lie with her. So it said Shechem lay with Dinah. That's the same description that is given to Amnon and Tamar. Amnon took Tamar, his sister, and lay with her and defiled her. Now, it's the same description given to Shechem and Dinah. But when it comes to sex in the context of marriage, the phrase that is used is he knew her. Is used to describe the sexual relationship between Adam and Eve. Adam knew his wife Eve. Cain knew his wife. And all that. It describes sexual relationship in marriage. Okay, so the Bible supports what I'm saying. The Bible lays credence to that. And so the principle of purity should not be violated. Anytime it's violated, you must know that the relationship is not a healthy one. It cannot be a healthy one. In the Bible, in the book of Jude, it says the angels who did not keep their habitation, he said he has reserved them unto everlasting chains of darkness, reserved in Tartarus or hell. Now, the Bible said they did not keep their first estate, or did not keep the habitation. What it meant was that angels are not supposed to uh, uh, engage humans in sexual activity, but these fallen angels who did that, they went out of their habitation, out of their domain, So anytime there are boundaries, God instills or institute boundaries around sexuality and sexual relations, and is broken, that relationship becomes a weak one. It becomes a weak one. And it's very important that we understand. Now, the second principle, individuality, means that you are an individual, and I'm also an individual. When we come together in any kind of relationship, I should not lose my uniqueness. My personality should not be lost in yours. Yours should not be lost in mine. Otherwise, the relationship is not a healthy relationship. Otherwise, it's going to create a negative soul tie. So, in a relationship where one person dominates the other through the use of fear, or force, that relationship, a negative soul tie is formed, and you will see that it also creates a habitat for demons. Anything that results into a negative soul tie can create habitat for demon. So when you lose your uniqueness, your personality, when you have to conform to the other person's personality so as to please the other person, that relationship is not healthy. If you have to compromise on your uniqueness, when I talk about uniqueness, God has given each and every one of us a unique personality. That one is natural. It's not bad. It's natural, and it's God given. Even though, because of the fallen nature of man, there are certain things that we we see as natural, but they have to be changed. You know, when we encounter the Holy Spirit, they are changed, because in as much as they are natural, you know, but they are natural only to the fallen man. Okay, so but I'm talking about basic personality that God gives you. You should not compromise on your personality to please the other person. You know, there's some people who think that they have to change in order to be accepted. If you have to change who you are in order to be accepted by somebody, the relationship is not healthy. Let me explain. You know that we have 4 basic temperaments. Okay, so let me adopt that that model. 4 basic temperaments: sanguine, choleric, phlegmatic, melancholic, and there are different blends of these 4. You know, different blends, but basically there are 4. Now, you should not change your personality just to please somebody. See, that one is not a healthy relationship. No matter that, I mean, of all manner of all kinds of relationship is not healthy. And that is why when you are working with somebody who is opinionated, or somebody who is strong, somebody with a strong will or strong opinions, somebody who insists that you either bend to his or her rules or you leave the relationship, you must know that that relationship is not healthy. It will not help you. You must leave it. You must, if there's no avenue for expression, you must conform to the image of another person. You are losing your individuality, and it's not healthy. It's not going to help you. You are going to find yourself in bondage. Yeah, you find yourself in bondage. There are people who, because of their nature, when you come around them, you must be a hypocrite. You must pretend. Yeah, you know, there are some people like that because of their nature, because they are people who are strong-willed, and they are people with strong opinions. You know, so when you come around them, you must pretend. You must be a hypocrite. Now you must realize that that relationship, if you are in a relationship with such a person, is not a healthy one, because you will compromise on your uniqueness, and your uniqueness is what will help you display your unique strength that God has given you. Okay, so there are certain things you can't change about yourself. There are things that you can change about yourself. Those ones are not, they are not natural. We have nature and then nurture. Certain things about us, they are not, they can be attributed to nature. It's nature, how our environment has socialized us, and how we have been socialized by our environment, how we have been we have our orientation that we got from our environment. But there are certain things that are natural. You can't change them. So there are people who are naturally quiet. You can't be loud. That's not your nature. There are people who are loud. You can't be quiet. That's not your nature. There are some people, I mean, you know your personality. Okay. So all that I'm saying is that if you have to change or compromise to please the other person, that relationship is not going to, it's not going to help you, because you cannot behave consistently in a way that is inconsistent with your nature. You by all means betray yourself one day. That is why if somebody comes into your life, the person must be able to accept you as you are. If you have to change something fundamental for the person to accept you, the relationship is not healthy. Maybe you are dark, you have to bleach to be accepted. The relationship is not healthy, because it means that you are changing a natural thing to please somebody for the person to accept you. Now there are certain things. For instance, there are some people even go to the extent of changing their Christian beliefs, just to please the other person. So the stakes are very high, and that relationship is not going to help you. Then the third principle is interdependence. Interdependence is a mark of maturity. because we have independence, then dependence, then interdependence. So independence is that I don't need you. I don't need you. I'm cutting off, that kind of connection. So I want to be on my own. I don't need you. That's the lowest form. Okay, so that one we can say that one is a sign of immaturity. Then when you were a child, you have that impression that you want to be independent. You don't want anybody telling you what to do. You don't want anybody controlling you. I've got to be independent. If you had your way, you will be independent. Nobody will be chasing you around. Nobody will be giving you instructions here and there. That is children yearn for independence. Now, when dependence is bad. Dependence is bad because when you are dependent on somebody for your happiness, let's say your joy, let's say your security, let's say your sense of worth, it means that you are not living. Okay, it means that your life, your life or living is contingent upon whether somebody is in a good mood or not. That one is bad. That one is bad. Your emotional state should not be dictated by somebody. Your sense of worth should not be contingent upon whether somebody accepts you or not. Okay, your sense of your strength, your joy should not depend on somebody's moods or somebody's emotion. But then independence too says, now I'm cutting off the connection. I don't need you. I'm an island. That's the language of independence. I'm an island. I don't need anybody. There are some people like that. They think that they don't need anybody in this life. I can make it alone. I don't need anybody. I'm a self-made person, self-motivated, self-sufficient. Only God is self-sufficient and self-sustaining. If you are a human being, you by all means need another human being in your life, in one way or the other. God created you to be whole, and yet to also need other people to complement you, so that you two will complement them. Then interdependence is a mark of maturity, where you know that, okay, what I need you, you need me. I need you, you need me. So there's something I must supply to you, and I must also be humble enough to receive what you've got to supply to me. So that's interdependence. Now, when this is also violated, then the relationship results into a negative soul tie, which will be a habitat for demons. There are some people, for instance, who cannot detach themselves from people. It's because this principle of interdependence has been violated. Now, the person is too dependent on the other person for his or her emotional well-being, to the extent that he cannot detach. Now, when that is in place, you cannot have a healthy relationship, because you can't detach yourself from the person. You see, if you cannot say goodbye, to certain people at certain points of your life, it means that you are holding on to too much, holding on to more than is necessary. In the Bible, you see Genesis 22, Abraham was going somewhere with Isaac and then his servant. Then verse 5, it says that, and Abraham said to his young men, stay here with the donkey. The lad and I will go yonder and worship, and will come back to you. Now, Abraham, it says it came to pass on the third day. Abraham, when he saw the place, as soon as he saw the place, he had to let the young men stay behind. He knew that the young men, much as they were part of his history, they were not part of his future. There are some people who may be part of your history, at a certain point, they may not be part of your future. Now, I'm not talking about when maybe there's an issue that you must settle with a person and then you are hiding behind this to say that, oh, then it means you're not part of my future. No, this one I'm talking about destiny, issues of destiny. Okay, so now if people live your life, you must be healthy enough to say, okay, goodbye. You must be healthy enough to say goodbye to people. When people live your life and they are supposed to live and they live your life and you're still long, your soul is still reaching out for them and you can't live without them, it means you are not in a healthy relationship. The principle of interdependence was violated. Okay, so there are times when people will leave your life. So we must be prepared to say goodbye to some people at a certain point. Just take stock of all those in your life currently. You and I will know that there are some people in your life currently. 5 years ago, you didn't know them anywhere. 10 years ago, they were not in your life. 10 years ago, there were a different set of people in your life. Maybe some of them are still in your life. Some of them are still in your life, but they are not within reach. They are not within the circle, your circle of influence. So you see, life itself is a progression. We grow, and then as we grow, as we climb the ladder of life, certain things drop naturally. There are certain relationships that will drop naturally. Now, but we should not be afraid to let people go, thinking that maybe your life depends on the people. Now, when people are in our lives, we should cherish them, and then we should be able to know what we are bringing to the table, and receive from them what they are also supplying to us. But when it's time for them to leave, we must have the maturity to acknowledge that, okay, it's time for them to leave, and then let them go. Otherwise, we are compromising on the principle of interdependence. So these three principles, they must not be violated. If they are violated, anytime they are violated, know that a negative soul tie has been formed. That's why when people go through abuse, for instance, and you may think it's not fair, but when people go through abuse and they don't get the needed help, sometimes they can be demonized, they can be oppressed by demons, not through no fault of theirs, but because a negative soul tie was established, it creates a habitat for demonic spirit. Okay, even there are some people who have gone through abusive relationship that has instilled fear into them, to the extent that they can't even, when they even hear the voice of the other person, they shake. Some of them, that fear is irrational, but of course it's because of the soul tie. When they hear the voice of that person, they shake. Some of them, they really shake out of fright, and that is a negative soul tie. That spirit of fear has found comfort in the soul tie, which is a habitat for the demonic spirit. So we have to constantly check ourselves, review our relationship. Okay, now, so these three things to know that you are healthy, you yourself, you are healthy, okay, and you are ready for a relationship. Now, I'm just picking on three things, but all these three things, they border on emotions, the emotional side. Okay, so I've said the first one, the ability to say goodbye, then the ability to know that not all relations are not the same. So we have to also understand that all relations are not the same. You can't handle all relationships as the same. Every relationship must be handled on its own merit. Okay. Now in Proverbs 27 verse 10, the Bible talks about certain relationships that we should not touch. It says, do not forsake your own friend, or your father's friend, nor go to your brother's house in the day of your calamity. Better is a neighbor nearby than a brother far away. You know, this one is talking about certain relationship that we must guard. Uh, I talked about wisdom for relationships, some months ago, and I talked about destiny relationships, natural relationship, strategic relationship, prophetic relationships, and many other relationships. And there are some relationships that are strategic, that you need that relationship for for destiny purposes. And so that relationship you should not touch. Okay. There's a saying that do not, they say that be careful how you live, and don't bang the door behind you, because you may have to come back through that same door some other day. And so let's say you are in a relationship with somebody. It could be at the workplace, wherever, and then some way, somehow you are leaving. Make sure you leave on a good note. Don't leave and then live in such a way that it will be difficult for you to come back, when the need arises. For instance, you may need a testimonial, or you may even need something like a reference or something, and you see that you can't go back because of the way you left the relationship. So there are some relationships that we should not touch. You should not touch. We should service each and every relationship on marriage, on their marriage. There are some relationships that you must not break, and then you must not also subject those relationships to strain, because it might cost you. And here he's talking about even living with our neighbors, that we must maintain a good relationship with our neighbor, because when something happens to you, your brother who is afar off, he said your neighbor close by is better than your brother who is afar off, because by the time you call your brother afar off to come to your rescue, whatever is going to happen would have happened to you. But the neighbor who is close by, he's the one who can be contacted in times of emergency. So it's good to maintain relationship. There are some people who destroy the very relationship that will help them. They destroy it, and that's not a sign of maturity. It's not a sign of maturity. We must be able to know the value of all manner of relationships. There are some relationships that you can cut off easily, with no consequence. There are some that you can't cut off like that. There are some that you must maintain. Even there are some relationships, it doesn't matter what happens, you must pay the price to maintain them. You must pay the price to make sure that they are there. Even when you are not the one, you are not the one at fault. You must make sure that that relationship is preserved, because it may be a destiny relationship that you will need. You see, an example in the Bible was Abraham and Lot. Now, Lot was Abraham's nephew, and they were together. It was Abraham who took care of Lot when his father died. Abraham picked Lot when his father died, and he became like his own son, raised him and all, and Lot became prosperous. And then Lot's herdsmen and Abraham's herdsmen were fighting. The fight was not between Lot and Abraham, it was between their herdsmen. Sometimes you've got to be careful. People who are under you can cause trouble for you. They can put you in a fight that you must avoid. And when it happens like that, you must be wise enough to educate them and let them know that no, this relationship, I can't touch this relationship. If you don't take care, people around you can incite you, and they can literally incite you they can literally advise you out of this destiny relationship. They can be saying things about the person to you. Meanwhile, you don't know, or you have not experienced that thing about the person, but they keep sending all those negative, say all those negative things about the person, you know that this person is playing a strategic role in your life. And no matter what, at least for now, you need the person. You must be careful who you're listening to and the sort of things you're listening to. So Abraham's headsmen, Lot's headsmen, they were fighting. And then Abraham told Lot that, well, the land is not enough for the two of us, so let's separate. So you, wherever you take, I'll take the other place. And the Bible says that Lot looked at the plain heading towards Sodom, the plain beyond Jordan, and it was well watered and green and looked fertile, like the garden of the Lord, like Eden. So Lot chose after the eyes, physical eyes, and went there. And Lot should have maintained a relationship with Abraham, because even when Lot was in trouble, it took Abraham and his 318 servants to come and rescue Lot. Now, Abraham was magnanimous enough, to have gone to rescue Lot, because at that time, Lot had separated from him, and Lot did not go on a peaceful note. There was some kind of friction, but Abraham was matured. He was a mature person, and so he realized that he had to look out for his nephew. Even he interceded for Lot. Remember Genesis 18. Okay, but my point really is that Abraham and Lot was the one who lost. Abraham did not lose anything with their separation. You see, Lot lost because Lot did not benefit from Abraham. He left Abraham, before he became Abraham. So Lot had Abraham, but he lost the benefit he would have gotten from Abraham. Abraham means exalted father. Abraham means father of many, father of nations, father of many nations. So, what Lot would have gained if he had exercised a little bit patience, Lot would have gained something better for his destiny, because that relationship was supposed to bless him and maybe give him a place among those who are sanctified. But Lot did not, cherish the relationship, and he was advised wrongly. I didn't know who advised him, but maybe somebody advised him. We receive all manner of piece of advice, from people. There are some people who don't even know the history behind this relationship you have with this person. They don't know. All they are saying is that maybe the two of you are having issues, and then they quickly jump and stand behind this person or that person, and then they'll be speaking to your ears, speaking to the person's ears. Do this, breakage, leave the person, go your way. They don't know the history. All they are saying the current friction. So if there was a wise person among Lot's headsmen, he would have saved Lot, because he would have given Lot wise counsel that, oh, boss, this man, remember how he took you when your father died. You have been with him, and look how God has blessed you even now that you have worked with the man. We don't know how much more God is going to bless you if you stay for a little bit more. You don't know, so just be patient. Even if you will leave, don't leave on this sad note. Alas, there was nobody to advise Lot. Okay, then the next one, which also a sign that you are healthy enough to be in a relationship, is that you are not anxious. You are not anxious. Anxiety will always lead to a lot of mistakes. Anxiety. When I say anxiety, I'm talking about excessive worrying about the future. Okay, or impatience. That can cause you when it comes to relationships. And so when there's so much anxiety, know that you are not ready. So anything you want to do, anything you become anxious about, know that God is not in it. He said be anxious for nothing. So when you become anxious of a thing, your flesh has taken over. When God is involved in the thing, you are at peace, at rest. So Adam, for instance, Adam never asked God for a wife. That's one thing. Adam never asked God for a wife. Adam was just serving God. He was loving God. Then God thought about him having a wife, and God went ahead to bring his wife to him. He was so deep into God, serving God, minding his own business. He was not anxious. Adam never complained to God that I see the cow, the sheep, the dogs, I see them, male, female, male, female. Why have you not given me a companion? Adam never complained to God. Okay, why? Because he was not anxious. So anxiety will get you distracted. So anytime you are anxious, anytime you are in haste, you are going to make mistakes. There are people who got married not because they were ready, but because their parents told them, "Hey, you are a man, you should get a wife." I was listening to one man of God who said that the time he got married, he was not mature. He said that he was not ready for a marriage. But then some people advised him that, oh, in ministry, you must make sure you marry early, which is a good advice, very good advice. But it does not mean that when you are not ready, you should force and marry because people say, you should marry. So anxiety, we must be able to know that we are ready, ready for a relationship, ready for a marriage. I'm not saying that relationships cannot break, but I'm saddened by the rampant, uh, how rampant it is when people cannot stay through to the commitment they make to people. Like I've made a commitment to you that I'm going to marry you. Now, if nothing, with the exception of maybe something untoward, maybe something very serious, but people break relationships with the flimsiest of excuses. In the first place, it means that maybe you were not ready in the first place. Maybe you shouldn't have entered into the relationship in the first place. That's why you need to take your time, make sure that you are ready, make sure you know what you want, and when you get what you want, make sure you are able to defend what you want. I always say that, if your friends' opinions can change your mind about the person you want to marry, if your friends' opinions can change your mind about the person you want to marry, it means that you are not yet ready for marriage. You don't know what you want. You have met this person. You know what you are looking for in a wife, in a husband. You have met this person. Now you've prayed. If you have done due diligence, you've prayed, you've applied your checks, you've taken a peep into the future with the Holy Spirit. You are satisfied. Most of your questions, not all, most of your questions are answered, and you are convinced within yourself that you can settle with this person. Now you introduce the person to your friends, and your friends, make a very, very discouraging remark. I remember on campus, somebody came to complain to me that he introduced his fiancée to his friends, and the friends said that, oh, this one is below your mark. So for this one, there is a you it's a wrong move or something like that. Below, I think they said it was a bad shot or something. So he was worried. So I asked him, I said, what did you see in the lady? What did you see in her? Why did you go for her in the first place? What did you see in her? Did you see a wife in her? Is she going to marry you, or she's going to marry your friends? You are the one she's going. You are the one she's going to marry. You are the one she's going to be with. Do you like her? Now, your friends might not like her, but do you like her? So your best friend, you see, your best friend might not like the one that you are going out with. it does not mean that you should not like the person. That thing destroys a lot of potentially good, relationships. Okay, now your best friend has made a remark that, oh, this person is no good, but he may not be good for your best friend, but he or she will be good for you, because we are different human beings. Are you getting me? We are different human beings. I should not like a person because you like the person. Everybody has the kind of people who attract him or her. It's natural. You can't do anything about it. Okay, so now you have, and everybody has what the first thing that attracts you to a person. Everybody has his own. Okay, so maybe for yours, maybe the person's countenance is what attracted you to the person. Okay, now that's not enough for marriage actually, but I'm just talking about the attraction. So that for another person, maybe it's the person's way of dressing. The other person, maybe how the person carries him or herself. The other person, how the person speaks. Some people is service. Some people is how the person is jovial. We all have different tastes and different things that endear people to us and endear us to people. And it's very important that we don't overlook those things. So somebody may look at the person you are with, and the first thing the person noticed about your partner was a deficiency. Now the person is seeing that maybe this partner of yours does not have this, but that is not the first thing that attracted you when you saw the person. You have your own personality, and what the things that will attract you. I'm not saying that attraction is enough. No, that attraction is not enough for marriage. But attraction is very important. There's always something that attracts somebody to you, but that is not the foundation for marriage. The foundation should be something deeper than just mere attraction. But attraction is very important. That's the starting point. That is what will make you look at a person, like Moses saw the burning bush, and the burning bush was a wonderful sight, and he got attracted. But that was not the most important. The most important thing was what God said at the burning bush. God said through the burning bush. So when he was leaving the place, he was not thinking about the burning bush. He was thinking about how to go and save Israel, deliver Israel from Egypt. That was the substance of the encounter. Okay, so these three things: say goodbye, the ability to say goodbye, ability to service relationship, and then no anxiety. Okay, now I wanted to also get into signs of a healthy courtship. I don't know, we don't have much time, so we'll just end here. Next week, if nothing changes, then we might look at signs of a healthy courtship. How to assess your courtship, your relationship, to see if you are on track, and if all is well. God bless you.
Amen. God bless you too, Daddy. Thank you so much for tonight's session. Very precise and concise. We've had a great time. So tonight, I just have one question, Daddy, about the soul ties. If you realize you're having a negative soul tie with someone, how do you sort it out? Do you break the relationship, or you both go on retreat to find yourselves and then come back as better people?
Okay, and it depends on the extent of the time. For some, you may have to neutralize the relationship by introducing another person. Okay, then that will automatically neutralize the relationship, so that you will not be too attached to each other. Now, anytime there's a negative soul tie, it has to be renounced. It has to be broken through prayers, through renunciation and all. Even when it's between somebody and, let's say, his boss or his father, there can be that kind of fear you have for your boss that is irrational. When you hear his voice, you are shaking. It's a negative soul tie. You have to pray against it and break it. So for all manner of negative soul ties, prayer should be involved. But in addition to prayer, for some, we have to introduce a neutral person to neutralize the relationship so that each of you can be stable.
Okay. Thank you so much, Daddy. Okay, since we don't have any questions on our YouTube comment section, then please make ear for the following announcement. God willing, on Saturday, we're having Generation Esther program. There's a prayer conference held every month by 3G, the female wing of this ministry. Yes, we're holding it at Wedi Junction, TMI premises on Saturday, 26th June 2021, just this Saturday, the day after tomorrow, God willing, 8 a.m. Yeah. And it's in Kumasi. Yes, in Kumasi. And then about PhD, I told you about PhD on Monday, prophetic healing and deliverance session, holding on the 2nd of July, 2021 at Kwashi Aidan Hall, Cultural Center, Kumasi. The theme is halting destructive winds. Come join us as we declare what the Lord has spoken concerning this country. So yeah, it's not, it shouldn't be a big deal if you're outside Kumasi. People come from Accra and all over the country to Kumasi, yeah, for these programs. So please make sure you put it down and decide to join us on Saturday, this coming Saturday, and then next week, Friday, God willing. All right, thank you so much for staying with us. We'll see you again on Monday for Ministry Monday at 7 p.m. exactly on Watchers TV. Have a wonderful weekend. Thank you.
Patiently, I want to thank you for always loving me. Oh, I just thank you for always loving me. Father, I want to thank you for always loving me. See, you just keep loving me, loving me. Thank you for loving me.